Studio. We're pleased to welcome now Dr. Geza Remak, born in Communist Hungary. Hey, Dr. Remak, good to see you, sir.
Yeah, good morning. Nice talking to you.
Yeah, same here. So I read your piece. It was well done, where you really pointed out lots of things that we should all be weary of and concerned about. You entitled it Vital Signs of a Nation. So tell us what the inspiration was for that.
Well, I was born in Budapest, Hungary, a long time ago. I've lived 36 years in Hungary and another 36 years in the United States. I'm 72 now, so I have a fair comparison of the two systems. So what I see, that the United States is not the same country that I came in 1988. So there are some signs that the country is going in the wrong direction, and unfortunately in the direction that I escaped from. So, go ahead.
No, you please, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, when you grow up in a country as a child, you don't realize that country is different than anything else. Okay, that's whatever you live in, that's given, and you take it as fact. You don't realize that your breakfast is a glass of milk and a slice of bread. And you are happy that you get it. So you don't realize that you have one pant for a year, and if it's broken, it has to be fixed. So you don't realize that your speech is definitely limited. So if you speak the wrong thing, even the right thing, it will be reported and analyzed, and you get punished for it. So it's a system where really the government controls you, controls every aspect of your life. So the only two things they didn't control, the alcohol consumption and sex. So that's they didn't try that, but there are two major attraction in life: is fear and is pleasure. So the pleasure part was free from that aspect. Fear part was evident, and it was given every day that if you don't behave, you get the punishment for it. So the elections were very, very popular. They had 100% participation in elections for one party, one candidate. And if you didn't go for the election, then you are the enemy of the state because you didn't vote for the party's candidate. So I really enjoyed being in a country where elections supposed to give a way where people can express their opinion about the government. It has changed in the meantime because people are vulnerable to outside influence. The people's opinion can be influenced by the mass media, and I really appreciate what you're doing there. Try to basically convey the real truth, because whatever is coming from the mass media these days, you really need a very, very clear understanding what's going behind. So this is really a mind sweep. They covering up the real truth. So I try to the vital signs, practically I try to make it very, very simple. So the vital signs mean that just stick with the facts. And I repeated a lot of things that's available publicly. So available the statistical data about the national debt, about the level of immigration, and what you don't realize that what keeps a nation together is the inhabitants' willingness to keep it together. Yeah. If the people don't basically are not willing to die for the nation or despise the nation, that is a problem. So it's our education, or the United States education, really does not emphasize the part. You should be proud where you live. You should learn the history of the nation, and you should learn the language.
So why do you think so many people in this country don't see the same way that you and I do, for example. I mean, you point out in your article and just now in your analysis of some scary things going on in this country that to some extent resemble what you fled in communist organized and run Hungary. Why are so many people, why do they appear to be on board with this agenda and supporting a party that seems to want us to move more towards communist Hungary than free United States? What's going on there?
Well, it's part of indoctrination. As a child, you have your own opinion, magic is possible, Santa Claus is alive and well in the North Pole, and what you learn, that's implanted into your head, in your thought processes. So reality becomes what they tell you. So it's a classical quote from one of the communist leaders, from Lenin. If you tell a lie enough, it becomes a truth. So, and this lie is coming day and night from the mass media. So
yeah,
the lie is that socialism is a working system. Taking away from other people for the public benefit is fine. It doesn't change the social structure. I mean, I'm pretty much sure you read Atlas Shrugged. That's and lots of literature references, which was fantasy at that point of time and becoming reality at this point of time. So
yeah.
it's Brave New World, 1984. So there is a cultural deficit in the country. People rely on Hollywood representation of reality, and that's not the reality. So you need to get outside. You have to learn to read again. And at this point, people don't read. I mean, very, very few people read. And
yeah, I agree.
The information is available, but the curriculum in the schools and in higher education really biased. So you can't be a teacher in a university or college setting unless you a devout Democrat. So that's
yeah.
There is a system now, the DEI system, which introduced by the Democrats, so diversity, equity, and integration or inclusion. So this system should be valid for the conservative thinking too, because right now the conservatives are way outnumbered in the leading positions at the universities and the teaching institution. So the students have no way to learn free thinking. They spoon-fed with things that not really true. And it sounds good on paper, sounds good when you tell people, but it's not really working out. So my favorite Churchill quote is that if you're not a liberal before age 30, you have no heart. If you're not a conservative after age 30, you have no brain. So it's really, it comes down to life experience.
You know, I tend to agree with you that decades now, our universities, which have been tilted so far to the left with respect to professors, administration, et cetera, they've been peddling this propaganda on their students rather than creating these environments of free expression and diverse opinions. They've rather been tilting that more towards the left. Perhaps it's just starting to manifest now, what we're seeing in society, that these decades of leftist indoctrination are starting to show up in voting and just opinions of people.
Yes, and the classical vote that you can vote yourself into socialism, but you have to shoot your way out. So it's a little aggressive, but it's kind of true. So if you go through European history, there were popular uprisings. I was 4 years old when I lived through a popular uprising in Hungary in 1956. 12 years later, 68 in Prague in 84. So And it was just coming up again in Hungary. This is when I decided, when I got an invitation to do some NIH research in Denver. Okay, it's time to pack up and leave before things happen. So it's a really popular uprisings are basically a bloodbath if you have a invading army with army experience against basically people armed with handguns or knives.
Dr. Remak, we're up against a break right here, but if you can hang around,
okay,
we can continue the discussion on the other side of it. So just stay tuned.
No
we'll be
problem.
right back with you. We're coming right back, folks, in the Element Well with Dr. Geza Remak. Lived in Communist Hungary for 36 years, immigrated to this nation, and doesn't like what he sees. Recently penned an article entitled Vital Signs of a Nation. So, Dr. Remak, you start out by saying that the real-life experience you had is that they're takers, and they take over a country, and that's what this communist ideology produces. It really just divides between the takers and the givers, as you refer to them. And that's is that something you're starting to see going on in this country today?
Well, yes. If you listen to one of the presidential candidates, snatching away, taking away, it happened about a dozen times in the speeches. So that's part of their ideology, that it's justified to take away from people what they produced, they created, in the name of social justice. So that's I understand that there needs to be a certain social safety net. People need to feel safe. People need to have the means for normal life. And the United States really has everything to provide their citizens. But we are running out of money. So it's I try to show some numbers from the archives, and we don't have enough money for the citizens. We have enough money to wage wars across the continents. We have enough money to house 10 million illegals, and we have money to give aid to countries that really don't like the United States. So that money should be spent inside the United States. I'm not running for any political office, but if that money is produced by the citizens of the country, that's supposed to help to improve the conditions. I mean, the roads, the airports, they are getting third world country level in the United States. So
it sure seems like that I was going to say, it sure seems like these policies that we're seeing promoted by the left in this country, and specifically the Democrat presidential candidate, are really just, especially economic policies, are a continuation of what Joe Biden has included in his budget every single year, but of course had no chance of passing. But it seems like it divides us into what I call the producer class and the recipient class. Is this kind of what we see in communist nations?
Well, it's tricky because everybody's supposed to produce, so to survive. If you're not able to produce, the society is supposed to give you support. But the level of production is not equal. So some people can produce more, some people produce less, and where do you pull the line? Where is that when the society has to interfere? So these days they're talking about the generalized income, that you give a certain amount of money to everybody and they spend it as they see proper. So it's not as bad idea as it sounds, but it's definitely doesn't help to produce more goods or increase productivity. So and taking away private property, because if you produce something, that's your property. So that's by law, and it's taking it away with a pen stroke. It's not really good for the nation. So
Right.
if I want to give, or if I would like to decide where the money goes, or if let's say billionaires, there are several billionaires in the United States, several hundred billionaires, where they want to spend the money. Do they want to spend the money on political campaigns, or spend the money in healthcare, spend the money to improve education, spend the money improve health? So it's I'm not really happy the way the government spends the money, and it doesn't matter which government. It's really way out of control. So right now, printing money is not a solution. Really have some common sense economy, and
Right.
bringing back the best social support is really a good paying job. If somebody has a good paying job, it makes him proud. It provides enough means to support the family, supports his needs. So really getting the right education, education that it's productive in the long run, that would be important. So
Yeah.
that's my opinion. Okay, I'm sure people have different opinions.
So you point out concerns about our national debt sitting at $35 trillion, and of course it's going up by over $2 trillion every year. That's the current trajectory that we're on. What do you think we ought to do there? I mean, you're really sounding the alarm about that in your piece here. What should government do?
Well, just like a family, the wants and needs. What the country needs, and cut back the wants. Okay, cut back this expenditure. Cut back the government expenditure. Shut down. I mean, the government is the largest employer in the country. It's almost half of the country is dependent on government salaries. So and I don't think the government will do it. So they won't kill themselves with their own sword. So
Yeah.
that's at this point it's really a very tricky question, and I don't have the answer. So right now the productivity will increase hopefully with the artificial intelligence. So people talking about the artificial intelligence is a magic bullet that will get us through the financial difficulties. But artificial intelligence can kill us with the same effort. Okay, so we are not able to compete with it. We are able to use some of it, but we are not competitors. So it's like a nuclear weapons. It can be providing an energy and can be helpful, but it can be deadly.
What do you think about this unchecked immigration that we've witnessed, especially during the Biden years? Over 10 million have flowed across our border who are undocumented.
Okay, so the identity politics talked about white supremacy. Right now, with these immigration numbers, white supremacy is not existing because the number of whites is less. So the whites became a minority in the United States. I'm not telling it as a racist, but basically right now coming to the point that no matter what a certain group wants, the other groups can override the decision. So it's really difficult. You have to get down to the point that you have to make a common decision. What's the best for the country? What's the best for every group in the country? And figure out you like this country, you pledge allegiance to this country, or you want to establish your own little stronghold. So it's the Pledge of Allegiance is a very important text, and kids, they don't recite it anymore. So
Yeah,
so nationalism is a glue that keeps together a country, and nationalism became a kind of a bad word, a four-letter word. So it's you can be nationalistic because then you're supposed to be globalistic. But
that's true.
nationalism doesn't die. Nationalism is a culture, is a history, is a language, is a habit. So it doesn't die. And I can tell you, Hungary was under Muslim Turk rule for 150 years, and Hungarians remained Hungarians in 150 years. So eventually, they with the help of the European powers, they regained their national identity, which never went away. And the same with the Russian invasion. I mean, we had practically Russian rule for 50 years.
Well, we're out of time, Dr. Geza, but Remak, but I really appreciate you coming on the program, enjoyed the conversation, and enjoyed your perspective. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thanks for inviting me.
Yes, sir. Folks, we're coming right back. Stay with us.